Hello everyone, it's me. So before we start, I want to talk to you about the paint that we use when we're stenciling. Now, obviously you can use the paint that you have used to paint your furniture with, whether it's chalk type, I don't know, whatever, mineral, all the different kinds, latex, so many different kinds. And that's fine, you can stencil with those paints. But often you might want a colour that you don't have, and you don't want to go out and buy a big can of paint just to create that colour. So what you need to know is that you can stencil with artists' acrylic paint, and that is what I use most of the time, because the colours are amazing and the intensity of colour is fantastic. So lots of acrylic paints. This is an acrylic paint from my local art store. It is their generic brand and I use this a lot. I have got a lot of acrylic paint, more than anybody knows. Don't tell anybody, because I like it. Anyway, you can use that, but you don't have to buy that. I've got it, so I use it. What you can use though are these acrylic paints, these craft paints from the dollar store. Okay, they are $1 a pop. I'm sure you can get them in any country that you live in, and they are liquidy, so you have to be quite careful when you're using them and make sure you offload a lot of the paint, but they work perfectly fine for stenciling. But today I'm going to show you the paint I actually like most, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of talking to North America here. This is a make called Artist Loft, and it's the generic make from Michael's craft store, which is found all over North America. And these paints are fantastic. They are only student quality, they're not artist quality, so you know you wouldn't really want to paint a canvas with them that you were going to sell, although who knows, they're probably just as good. Anyway, they're fine for stenciling. They're really good for stenciling, and I use the metallic range a lot. So here's a bronze, they have an old gold, the copper is fantastic. I use these metallics when I'm, put the camera on me again. I use these metallics when I'm doing raised stenciling or regular stenciling. I use them for doing coach lines, or I've painted hardware with them. It's fantastic. Once it's on there, it's not going anywhere. Acrylic is really tough stuff. I've put acrylic paintings out in the rain, not on purpose, you understand. But yeah, so that's a little bit about paint and what you can use. And if you want a special colour, don't buy a big can of paint. You can buy testers, obviously, of paint, but these are great. These paints are great. So now I want to talk to you about stencils. So I bought this stencil, it's huge, to do my wall in my dining room, which I have done, and I love it, and it was really hard work, and I don't know that I'd ever want to do it again. But after I'd done it, I started to realise that I could use all different elements of this stencil. So although they're expensive, these large ones, they have a lot more life in them and a lot more goes in them than, say, something like this, which I'm going to show you today. But this stencil is lovely. I use it a lot. It's an all-over stencil. But there's not an awful lot I can do with that. The elements are very small. But on this, there are so many different parts. You know, you could use that part, a vase with flowers and feathers there. So I just wanted to say that to you. Don't always look at it as a whole thing and think, oh, I'm not going to be able to use that, because you just mask off the parts that you don't want and then use it. I mean, I did a gentleman's dresser with this stencil, and I just took the center part of it and it looked amazing. It really did. I loved it. So I use that to do this. So this is what I want to show you about using different colors. When the elements in a stencil are quite big, it's very easy to do because you're almost painting in the elements. So here on this top half, I used a purple, and that was this violet actually, and this yellow ochre. And then on this bottom half, I used purple and this red ochre. And I have to say, I'm absolutely loving this colour combination here. I use good stencil brushes, and I talk about that on my Stenciling 101. So please go and look at that to understand brushes. But I'm going to show you now about blending. So I'm going to turn this over, and I've got here, I've put on the plate some violet and some of the red ochre. Now, they're different makes, but that's absolutely fine. You can mix them together. And I'm going to use this stencil. Okay, now I'm actually going to stand up because I work better standing up. So the secret for doing this is less is more. And it's a bit like dry brushing. So I'm going to put some of the purple on my brush, and then I'm going to wipe most of it off. And then going to very randomly apply the paint. And I'm kind of swirling it around. Okay, now these elements are very small, so it'd be very difficult to kind of pick out and be more artistic with this. So then I'm swapping brushes, and I'm going to pick up some of the red ochre and holding the stencil down. I don't tape, but you probably should if you're not used to doing this. I'm now going to go in and over. Some of it will blend, some of it will stand alone. Okay, and I'm not pressing hard. I'm really just touching the end of the tips into the open parts. Okay, I'm going to go in and put a little bit more purple because I want it to be darker. And I'm actually going to go down here because I want to show you something that I only found out quite recently. And I've passed this tip on whenever I can. Okay, so can you see? Let me hold it up. See how that looks really cool? It's got a much more interesting element to it than just doing one colour. But before I go on, I want to just explain to you about registration marks on stencils, because I know a lot of people don't know this. This stencil has got these funny little extra bits all the way around it that kind of are there on their own. And when I first got this stencil, I thought, oh, that's not been cut right. I wonder why they've got those bits. And then I realised that here, where those extra bits are, when you want to move it along, you place the stencil, can you see, over those bits, so they mirror image them, and then you carry on. And they've got them top and bottom as well, so that when you've finished, you have a complete overall pattern without trying to match it up yourself, which is what actually I was trying to do. So I'm sure you're not all as silly as I am, but anyway, for those of you that didn't know that, I think that's quite a useful tip. So I'm now going to show you two more colours, which I really like together. Again, Artist Loft, and one is a blue cobalt metallic, and the other one is a phthalo green. There, green, phthalo green, metallic. And these are fabulous for using on stencils because they already have a kind of a nice little glow to them. Let's see if there's some in here. There we go. Okie dokie. Right, here we go again. Pick up some of the green. randomly doing it. I'm actually going to be naughty and go back in with the same brush, picking up some of the blue. And this is a smaller brush, which is actually easier if you're using a stencil with small elements in it like this. Go back for the green. And again, just fairy fingers, everybody. I'm going to show you what happens in a minute if I go too heavy with this. Okay, let's have a little peek. Yes, looking nice, but it needs more blue. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is when you're blending colours, it's really important that you understand a little bit about what colours blend and what don't, because they don't all blend nicely. So when you buy your paints, have a little practice on some card or whatever, some paper, and see what works blended together, because not all colours will naturally blend. Okay. So let's have a go now with this gold. Okay. So I don't know if you can see the shine on that from the metallic paint, maybe not, but it's lovely that. So I'm going to show you now using a bigger element. With the blue and the green and the gold. See how pretty that looks? So let me show you now this purple and the red, because I think this is just amazing together. Which bit shall I do? Okay, I'll do this bit. So when you're working with stencils with large cutouts, try to pull away from the edge, and then that way the paint won't go under. Okay, pick up the red and see, I just think that's fantastic. I love that the colours together. I'm going to have to do something in these colours, I think. Right, I'm going to show you now what happens if I go heavy-handed. All right, so if I'm going like this, because you think you're safe, well, wouldn't you know it? There you go. So there are lots and lots of different things you can do with stencils. They don't just have to be one flat, boring colour. You can really paint with them when there's a big element. You can make them look really artistic and, you know, have a go. Just have a go. Bye.